I know none of you who are listening to this video right now have no idea who this woman is, and honestly, up until this point, I didn't know who she was. I still don't know who she is, but I saw this video when it came across on my Twitter timeline. Sometimes the algorithm can be good for something, because I can definitely make a commentary out of this. And this woman, she basically made this video. It was only 34 seconds long, where she was talking about how it was growing up black, being adopted into a white family. So what I'm gonna do now is insert the clip here and give my commentary afterwards.
What was it like being raised by white people? What was it like growing up in a white family? The question that everybody asks, everybody wants to know. My story. The only word that comes to my mind is traumatizing. I don't have a positive story of the white family that adopted a black child, grew up into this healthy dynamic, everything went well.
So you heard it right there, and it sounds to me like there was probably more there, but that was the part right there that went viral, because when people got a hold of it, they decided to give their interpretation of it. So she basically said that what was it like for her growing up as a black person adopted into a white family, and she said it was traumatizing. She said doesn't have this fairy tale fantasy of, oh, this white family took in this black child and everything was great and everything was fine and everything was this, that, and the third. It was, sweet and all that good stuff that people would think that it is. But she kept it real. That was her experience. That's the story that she told. It kind of also reminds me of when Colin Kaepernick's adoptive parents, because with him being, he's biracial, and he was adopted by a white family, white parents, white siblings, and he's the only one that is mixed. And I remember, I think they said his parents had to tell him, like, you're different. You're going to be treated a little bit differently, not necessarily from us, but from other people, because they're going to look at you different. They're going to treat you different. Like, they were keeping it real with him from day one since he was a child. And as you can see, that kind of definitely played out into his adulthood after what happened to him and what the NFL did back in 2015. It's crazy to believe it's been 10 years since that happened. But this was her story, and she was basically saying, hey, this was my experience and how it was growing up for me when I was living in a white family or a white adopted family. But of course, the usual suspects got a hold of this, and they decided that they were going to crash out over what she said. So I screenshotted a few of the tweets in which they said, and we're going to go over them right now. So you have this one right here, and this was probably one of the most ridiculous ones, and trust me, there was a lot of weird ones, but this one right here didn't make a lick of sense. So this person said, probably true. It would be traumatizing for a white kid to be raised by black folks in a black community. Check out Eminem. To this Mark's Men person, I don't know if you're aware or not, but maybe you were living under a rock, but Eminem was raised by his single white mother in a trailer park. He did not grow up in a black neighborhood. He probably hung around black people, and that's not outside the realm of possibility, but he did not get raised by a black family or was raised in a black neighborhood. I guess because he's a rapper, you think that's just par for the course. I mean, look at Drake, for instance. He wasn't raised in any hood. That guy's straight out of Toronto, Canada, and he's half black. So this post right here, you can tell they were acting off of pure emotion, because if they would logically thinking, they would not have said that. This one says, sounds like she would rather be raised by a single mom, as if white people aren't raised by single parents. Like, there's a lot of stories where out there, if they looked for it, where there are white people who were raised by single mothers. I just went over one with the last tweet with the Eminem one of how he was raised by a single white mother in a trailer park. But see, again, that stigma of mainly black people are raised by majority single mothers and these fatherless homes, it leads to assumptions like this one that this person just put up. I saw quite a few of these where people were saying that she's ungrateful. Okay, the woman said she was growing up traumatized. Like, she's supposed to be grateful for that? So again, I'll go into at the end, I'll explain what this really is. I mean, you see it in the title. That's really what it boils down to. Go and sit up there and call this woman ungrateful. Like, again, this is her story. How are you going to tell her how to manage her emotions with how she grew up? Like, if you grew up in a nice, happy home, hey, that's on you. But her, it's very, very different. This person says traumatizing because of their skin color or traumatizing because of actions. Skin color does not cause trauma. Now, the thing is, if this was flipped around and this was, say, a white woman, and they said that they were growing up in a adopted black family and they were traumatized, I bet you this comment right here would not have left this Annie Oakley 69's mouth to land onto Twitter. It would have sounded a whole lot different. As a matter of fact, the same could be said about a lot of these other comments that I'm going over and will continue to go over as this video continues. If this was flipped around and it was a white person saying that they were adopted by a black family and growing up there, it was very traumatizing, then that's exactly how it would have went. But have you noticed, if you've ever noticed, that if it's a white person adopted by a black family, rarely do you ever hear of them telling stories about them being traumatized in that home? But you're more likely to hear stories like what she said rather than the flip side of it. I'm just saying. Of course, this person says to Africa now. So you want to send her to Africa, a place that she's not even from, just because she grew up in a white adopted family and was traumatized growing up in that home? Okay, if you say so. Like I said, you're going to see more of these. Profoundly ungrateful against her white family. Again, she says she was traumatized. Instead of saying she's just ungrateful, like, that's the thing right there. Not when they say that she's being ungrateful, they're being very dismissive of this woman literally saying it was traumatizing growing up in that home. Like, they are treating it as if she should be grateful that a white family even took her in. I even saw some comments talking about, well, why didn't a black family take her in? How do you know a black family didn't try to take her in, but they didn't qualify? Or maybe because they did qualify, but they gave them the runaround. You know, they say that statistics wise, it is very hard for black families to adopt. They got to go through so many hoops and hurdles to adopt. I think I remember a story where it was this black couple that adopted this family of like 6 siblings, and they said the process was long and it was a rough process to get all 6 of them. But they managed to pull together and do it because they wanted to make sure all of them grew up in the same household and they didn't want them to be separated. But they managed to pull it off. And like I said, we've heard a lot of horror stories when it comes to PC families adopting some of these black families. I mean, look at what happened to the Hart family. That one still gets me to this day. And so many more stories out there. And then treating their children like they're slaves and butlers and maids. Perfect example. Look at that couple out there in West Virginia and what they were doing to their kids. Had them locked up in a barn-sized shed and was treating them like slaves. Got the whole library thrown at them for what they did. So there's 2 examples right there. And I'm gonna read one more. And this one right here was the example of tone deaf. This person said, I was adopted by a white family. Now this person is clearly a white guy. He said the words I would have used would have been family, love, home, belonging. I wonder what her words would have been for her birth family. No family is perfect because we are all human. Again, those are listen to what he just said. He said the words I would have used this is how I would describe it. So you insert yourself, you displace her, you insert yourself because that's what your experience was, and you again displace her and dismiss her because you grew up in a loving, happy, white adopted household. See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. This is the example in the epitome of being tone deaf. Like, that was your experience, not hers. She's telling her story, not yours. But really, what it all boils down to is this. In that 34-second clip, that woman just told briefly her experience. I'm sure it's more to the story, and she probably goes into detail of why it was traumatizing, but that was put out there. And I'm sure that was the purpose, was to get those people riled up, which it did, as you can see by the post that I made right here. What it really boils down to is she put a dent into the white savior, I have to save everybody fantasy, or, you know, into the ether of them coming to save everybody, especially the downtrodden Negro, from themselves and their situation, because she didn't paint her white adopted family in a good light. What was she supposed to do? Just sit up there and lie? I guess they would prefer that if she would have did that. That way they wouldn't be painted in a bad light, because they painted. See, the thing is, they painted black parents and black families in such a bad and negative stereotypical light for so long that there's just no way that PC families can possibly do this, when there's plenty of stories out there to support that they can be talked about in the same vein, probably even more. But see, she ruined that fantasy for them and they felt attacked. And the thing is, it's like, she wasn't talking about you. What's the terminology? If it don't apply, let it fly, but they can't let that fly. And the fact that it's coming out of the mouth of this black woman who was adopted by this white family, that's why you have those comments that was saying she was ungrateful. She should just be grateful, even though she said she was traumatized. So what? In their eyes, so what? Just be grateful that this white family saved you. Adopted you. That's really all it boils down to. It's that white savior complex that they have, that a lot of them claim they don't have, where they have to feel like they're the heroes of every scenario, especially when it comes to us. I mean, think about it. That's why they always try to tell black people, even going back to slavery, oh, black people should be thankful for Abraham Lincoln because he was the one that freed the slaves. I'm like, oh, you see, you're just going to sit up there and continue to tell this lie? And a whole bunch of other things. It goes back for centuries. Their superior, and I'm sorry, but that too, but their savior complex is nothing new, unfortunately. But I wish I could hear the rest of this woman's story, because I'm actually curious to know how it was traumatizing as well. But again, this is her story, not theirs. They got pissed off about it. That one word, that traumatized story, pissed them off. I bet you if she didn't bring race into it, like let's say that she just talked about her adopted family and she didn't bring race into it, the response would not have been anywhere near how it was. Some of them probably would have asked though, what type of family race wise did you get adopted by? Was it another black family or was it a white family? They probably would have asked that, but she plainly put it out there that it was a white family that did it. And these are the same people that will sit up there and lie to your face and say that race doesn't matter. We should stop talking about race. We're so far past it. No, we're not. We're not past it as black people, and you're not past it as PC. Like, stop it. Like, cut it out. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments, and I will talk to you in the next one.